Welcome to the myCOW podcast, and my name's Sean Bellamy, and I've enjoyed over 20 years working with New Zealand farmers with dairy nutrition and cow health. Now, a special thank you goes out to Advanced Nutrition as our primary supporter. The focus of this podcast is to be a vehicle for delivering relevant insights to dairy farmers and ag professionals, all to help drive cow efficiency and farm business profitability, because stronger businesses are more sustainable and help to build stronger communities. Cool. I'll welcome everyone to the myCOW podcast. Awesome to have you with us. I'm super excited. We've had this booked in for a while, so it's cool that we finally got here. We're all busy people, but yeah, we've got Nick here from Halter, which you've been with the company quite a wee while, eh?
Yeah, like 2.5 years now.
Yeah, awesome. You could tell us a bit about yourself, Nick, and we'll dig into it. Looking forward to learning a bit more about Halter, how you guys work, and what's in store for the future.
Yep. So I'm a senior account manager with Halter, so based in Mid-Canterbury and Ashburton, in the process currently of moving to the West Coast. So to do the same job, but on the West Coast. So bringing the family across there. So wife, 2 wee toddlers, 2 wee girls. So the idea is to move over to the West Coast and keep doing the role with Halter, and then hopefully in the next couple of years get some land for ourselves. But yeah, I guess pre-Halter, went through Lincoln, grew up in town, always wanted to be a farmer since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I could, I started working on farms, went through Lincoln, graduate program at Ravensdown. Been overseas for a few years, and then since then I've been back in New Zealand doing environmental farm consulting and then farm systems consulting.
Yeah, nice.
So, McFarlane Rural Business in Ashburton for a couple of years pre-Halter.
Excellent. Yeah, great business. Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah, awesome to have Ben with us as well. And we've actually noticed, just on a little side note, that our tech segment of the podcast has been by far the most popular. And so I reckon it's because Ben's just pulling his weight. So,
I don't know. I think people are just fascinated to see what tech can do on their farms.
I think you should take the credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Halter's been on quite a journey.
Yep.
Everyone will know that it got valued at $1 billion, and it's raised all the capital and grown super fast. Give us a little bit of an inside look as to why you think it's grown so fast and what it, is it, obviously it's very fast paced, but what does it look like and feel like?
It's I know it looks fast paced from the outside. It's just as fast paced on the inside, but it's fun. Yeah, it's challenging, but we're all there because we all believe in the product and we believe what it's doing for farmers now and what it can do for farmers going forward around the world. I guess the whole idea of Halter is that we want to make our farmers more productive. So we think of ourselves as like a whole farm operating system. So yeah, whether that's in the pasture space, the animal health side, the breeding side, the sustainability side, I think that basically everything we do is tailored towards making our farmers more efficient. Yeah, everything we work on, as we were talking earlier, comes from what the farmers are asking us to do. But yeah, we have some operating principles, culture is a really, really big part of Halter. And one of those operating principles is max velocity, which is everything we do basically.
Yep. Cool. Fast and efficient.
Yep. And you don't always get it right when you do that, but we like to think that when we get it right most of the time, and if we don't get it right, we own it and we fix it and keep going.
Yeah, you got to make mistakes to learn. It's part of any startup or any sort of growing company. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, well, I was amazed. I was listening to some stories from some North Island farmers in the early days, and they were saying, we're using the app, and we're like, I wish it did this, and they'd send an email through within 48 hours. It was done, uploaded, and working.
Yep.
All the bugs ironed out. That's a smart company. You can listen to farmers and adapt to what you're doing and deliver that quickly. That's certainly, it's got to be a good recipe, eh?
Yeah. A big part of our role is to be like a conduit between the farmers and the product teams, and to start to pass those recommendations and requests on, translate them into, between the farmers and what the engineers are talking.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. With my nutrition background, obviously I'm working with farmers looking at all their data, milk data, Halter data and everything. And the interface, the way it delivers the data and how easy it is to read for the farmer is certainly sets it apart in the market, which I really like.
Yeah. I think a big part of that interface stuff is that the product's being built from the ground up for farmers. We haven't had an existing product that we've then adapted. It's been built specifically for farmers. And so I think that you see that in the interface.
And would you say that Halter is quite specific to pasture-based farming as well? Because a lot of the other systems, not that they're bad, but they probably are a little bit more geared towards sort of your health alerts, your per cow health, and maybe your barn TMR system. Like I don't know specifically.
Yeah, no, it is like we talk about Halter as a whole farm operating system, but for us, the real value proposition's in the pasture space. Yes, we do the animal health and the repro as well, but yeah, the big chunk of our value proposition is in the pasture side. Yeah, so yeah, pasture-based farming really.
Yeah, because you do see like even how you display like say rumination minutes or eating minutes in Halter versus a system that might have been designed for a TMR based system can differ a bit.
Yep.
But I like the display. I think especially the desktop version. I think it's quite clever.
Would you say that pasture is the thing that's growth in Halter? Like, is that the thing that people are jumping on board and jumping at Halter for?
Yeah. Like, so in July 2023, we did our biggest ever release, which was we termed Pasture Pro at the time, which was basically bringing in our pasture models. And yeah, that was basically completely closing off that feedback loop. So we had the flexibility virtual fencing provides. And then we were like, well, the next logical step is to start to help farmers understand where to put those fences. And so once we kind of closed that loop off, yeah, it's really gone nuts since then.
Yeah, interesting.
And you'll be working with farmers right across New Zealand on that as well. What are some of the biggest differences you've seen between regions on that?
Yeah. I don't want to generalize regions, but I guess every farmer has specific drivers. So there are trends where some regions are probably more like profitability focused. Like you'll have the regions maybe where there's more corporate farming, more big family owner operators, probably where we are now is a classic example. And then there are other regions where maybe more family owned farms have been around for a lot longer. So the drivers may be different. Yeah, I guess as long as someone's clear on why they've got Halter from the start, that's like the most important thing. So if they've got Halter because they want to go and coach their kids rugby and spend more time with the family, that's 100% fine. And if you've got Halter because you want to drive your bottom line, that's also great. Yeah, it suits either one. You just need to be really clear what your expectations are up front, and you'll get out of it what you put into it.
Fascinating. Do you think people should really take time to think about what they want to get out of the tech before they take it on? Because you could sort of go down some rabbit holes with, well, I have seen farmers go down rabbit holes of technology and get a bit disillusioned, and they're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be. But what would be your advice around that?
Like our business development team, they spend a lot of time working with farmers throughout that process and starting to really articulate what their expectations are of the product, what I guess challenges on farm they're wanting to address, and then working through with the farmer, is this the right product for your farm? Because it may not suit every farm. And like it's in our best interest and the farmer's best interest that everyone's really clear up front what we can and can't do. And there has been cases in the past where we've said like, oh, we don't think this is right for your farm. It's not a silver. Like you have to be open to changing what you do on farm. And I think similar to any kind of wearable or tech, like if you just put it on your farm and keep doing what you've always done, you're not going to see any change. You've got to be open to changing.
So would you say that defines between whether the farmer finds success through the Halter system or potentially they could be getting more out of the system?
Yeah.
The big difference is there.
There's probably two real common threads we see, is team engagement. So the farmers that get their whole team from the top to the bottom involved with Halter and start to delegate tasks and things, they tend to see far better results. And then also just the openness to change. Yeah, the ones that get Halter and are like, right, what can I do? Like, is it multiple shifts? Is it allocating on a kg of dry matter instead of square meters? The ones that are open to doing that are the ones that see the real change quickly. And some farmers are way quicker at adapting to that than others.
So there'd be a bit of a difference between farmers that almost bolt Halter onto what they're doing and they use it like sporadically versus farmers that are like, man, this is the core of our system and everything or a majority of what we do goes through Halter. Do you think there's a difference there and around philosophy and the success of the product?
What I've noticed is that the farmers that are already good farmers are already probably top pasture managers and things. They tend to take off a lot quicker because they're already doing a lot of the things, like say back fencing, for instance. A lot of them may already be doing back fencing, maybe not 100% of the time, but they'll already be doing it a lot of the time. And so those guys, they'll get Halter and they'll just kind of use Halter to really dial in their system.
Right, yeah, so they're adapting what they're already doing, but using Halter to do it. So
Yep.
rather than out there running back fences and things, Halter's doing it.
Yep.
But they're using existing skills and knowledge of pasture management to
Yep.
get the best out of the technology.
Yeah, and the farmers that are getting the best returns or the best increases in pasture harvested, they're not really doing anything spectacular with Halter. They're just really using it to do the basics of dairy farming really well and consistently.
Yeah, and saving time so that they're more efficient, essentially.
Yeah, redistributing time. So we talk about, we don't talk about reduction in labour so much these days because it doesn't suit every system. Someone still has to milk the cows and pick the calves up, but the redistribution of labour is massive. So the farms that are doing really well, they might be out there visiting the cows 4 or 5 times a day, checking residuals and just, really, working on the business, not in the business.
Yes, absolutely. That makes sense. Yeah, because I've often wondered, you do see that with tech. You see farmers that are already really good farmers. They seem to generally go really well with tech.
Yep.
Whereas some of the other guys that are like, we want to improve a whole lot of areas on the farm. They bring tech in and sometimes they don't see the results that they thought they might.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, but yeah, it makes sense though. Really, it's not teaching you and telling you how to be a better farmer. It's taking the knowledge and the skills you already have and probably just making them a little bit more efficient, I guess.
Yep.
Do you think that's fair, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Probably a bit of a simplification, but
it's I think the key thing is that it's just it's not a silver bullet. You just have to dial in the basics of dairy farming, and hopefully with Halter it makes it easier to do, and you can do it more consistently. Because really, all you're trying to do out there dairy farming is just feed your cows consistently, and it's just a consistency piece that's hard.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I often say to farmers, the rumen doesn't have a little window in it, so the microbes open the window and they look outside and they say, "Oh, cool, we're getting 18 kilos today. Yesterday we only got 17." They just get what they're given.
Yep.
And if you do it consistently, they adapt to what you're doing. So if you do it inconsistently, they never fully adapt and they never catch up. And so they just you never get the full performance out of the rumen, which is really exciting with tech because tech is very consistent by nature because it's electronics. So, it's not thinking about other things, or it's just, you get that more consistency. I'll be a little bit mean now. With that, like, I'm keen to dig into the numbers a little bit of this, right? With a lot of farmers do talk about, and you guys talk about pasture utilization efficiency. Do you have any numbers behind any of that? I know it's really hard, and like I say, I'm being a bit mean, but I'd be interested now that you sort of had 4 or 5 years of pretty good data flowing through. What are you seeing out there in terms of increase in pasture utilization?
So we generally, when we're doing these kind of things, we'll generally work through we use pasture harvested as our metric, because I guess with Halter, you can either increase your pasture growing or you can increase your utilization. But so the best way of getting both of them together is the harvested amount. It's pretty easy to back calculate too. So I guess we do back calculations for farms if they've got good data. Recently we had an independent study done by Julian Gaffney at Transform Agri and James Allen. I think it was he Ag First.
I know Julian. He's a great guy, smart operator.
So they did an independent study for us. So they did 5 farms in the South Island, 5 in the North Island, high performing farms, and basically went through FarmX and worked out the pasture harvested and the profitability changes. I can probably bring up the averages and things if you like, but I guess in the region where I work, mid-Canterbury, flat irrigated farms, so often we'll hear what kind of gains can we get there? We're already the best.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. But no, what we're seeing is, so I think of one farm in particular, first year with Halter, 6% increase in pasture harvested, next year another 7%. And these guys were already great farmers, so they're farming at scale, 1,500 cows. I knew them pre-Halter. They do farm walks every 7 days religiously, and over spring they'll farm walk every 3 days.
Wow. Awesome.
So good farmers. And so those are the gains they're seeing. And all they're doing is what we spoke about earlier. They're just, instead of following cows and tidying up tasks that the staff didn't get to, the contract milkers are out there just checking the cows' residuals at 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, multiple times throughout the day. Got the time to do it, running extra mobs. So obviously that feeds into the repro performance. So the same farm that I'm talking about, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was over 10% increase in 6-week and calf rate over the last 2 years.
Awesome.
Like obviously we can't put that all down to Halter. There's other things that come in, like they've done phantom scanning and things like that. But again, they're using the wearable data to determine which
Make
cows
that
to
job
scan.
easier, eh? Yeah, because with 1,500 cows, repro is a challenge, eh?
Yep.
There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, so they've gone from like 67% to the low 70s now, which is pretty good at that scale.
It's
And
very good.
and they've said this year they're gunning for 80%, which
Wow,
is unheard of
awesome.
at that scale.
I reckon.
Um,
Highly profitable, especially with 1,500 cows.
Yeah. So I guess that's one example. For other farms in, like, say, most flat farms, when we're doing a return on investment or I guess a proposal to the farm to use Halter, would probably use like a 3% gain in pasture harvested to be conservative. But we've got data showing there's a lot more than that on the table. But obviously we want to be conservative when we do those figures.
Just under promise, eh? Especially when it comes to that sort of thing.
Definitely. And then we've got other farms that have seen like, 15 or 20% gains.
Yeah.
But I'd say on average, those flat farms, we go 3% as a minimum.
Yeah. I got a couple of questions in that space.
Yep.
Like, because you said, flat irrigated farms,
Yep.
where's the gains? And I totally agree. Because, the paddocks are pretty square and easy to manage. So you can get more consistency than, say, a Waikato farm that's got 2 gullies and a paddock and it's all, squiggly and wiggly. Where have you seen the gains there in terms of, are you seeing more gains where there is inconsistent paddock sizes and it is harder to measure? Or is that just a fallacy and it's actually just...
No, you're right. There's definitely more gains to be had on anything rolling or steep. So if it was a rolling or steep farm, which I don't have in Mid-Canterbury, that baseline figure would be like 5% probably. So yeah, obviously being able to use virtual fencing to lock cows on a face and tidy that up, there's massive gains to be had there.
Yep. So just better growth rates because you're leaving a more consistent residual over the paddock.
Yeah, and then probably improved like average ME as well, which is something that we often don't think about. But yeah, even just improve you're a nutritionist, even both just improving that ME by 0.5 over the season is huge.
Absolutely, yeah, and that is a big issue too, like overgrazing the flats, undergrazing the hills. Like cows are, they're going to choose the easier ground. That's just life. But if you consider set them or push them more into other areas, it definitely makes a lot of sense. So one thing that interests me with the 6% savings or a 6% increase for the first year, then 7% the following, why do you think they got slightly more efficiency gain the second year? I would have thought you'd get a lot more the first year and then you'd sort of plateau out.
So that was 6% and then an additional 7%. So like compounding
that's
as well.
What I mean.
So obviously it's farming seasonal, so that comes into it. I would caveat it with that example I gave you. That was their second year contract milk in that farm, and then their third year. So generally, contract milkers do get better the longer they're on a farm. So that comes into it too. But dialing in Halter, so in their second year, basically they finished their first round on the 14th of September, which is pretty early. So this is just outside of Ashburton. And so their consultant, I guess Jeremy Savage, he won't mind me saying who he is.
Another great guy.
Yeah. So I used to work for him. So he won't mind. Turned up on farm, I think on like the 14th, and they said, we're finishing our first round today. And he was like, nah, like you can't be doing that. And they basically used Halter data to work through the numbers. They showed him that their demand was 43, that the growth rate was 45 on Halter's data, that the weather was good for the next week. And basically they showed him with confidence that this is why they've made that decision. And so they did it and it was fine. And actually this farm in particular has 4 other farms in the syndicate and they all followed pretty quickly after.
Yes.
This year, they've gone even further. They finished their first round 2nd of September.
Wow.
And again, we're starting to notice now with good data and being able to use like forecasted growth rates, like Halter's forecasted feed wedge, people can make these decisions with confidence and the benefit to milk and things by being able to hit that second round earlier.
So basically just being more aggressive.
And just having the confidence because there's other farms that I go out to and they're, even 10 days ago I was at a farm and he was like, the cows aren't peaking, they're not cycling. And I was like, he's like, we're just really trying to hold our first round until we hit that spring rotation planner date. And I was like, you don't have to do that. If you've got the data,
absolutely,
you don't have to do that. And I think a lot of what we do in pasture management is dictated by I've got to wait until this date to go onto this round. And it's like, not necessarily, like every year's different.
Yeah, it's insurance, insurance and safety, which makes sense because things can go wrong. But you're right, with more data, you can be more aggressive because you can see better. It's like having two eyes versus one eye. You get another whole bit.
So obviously the environment is very much adaptive, and so you've got to adapt your practices around that. How have you been able to take like the learnings from previous years and kind of move them onto the next seasons?
Yeah, like in a product sense or in
Yep.
how farmers are using.
And how
Cool.
farmers are using the tool.
I guess one of the main ones is our farmers learn the most from each other. So you'll see those groups that you've come along to. We often run, well, we used to call them cluster groups. We now will have discussion groups. So there's one running in Mid Canterbury, there's one in North Canterbury, there's one in Takaka, where it is just Halter farmers. And basically there'll be someone there from Halter, but it's not about us. It's about the farmers learning off each other. And we're just there to answer any technical stuff to do with Halter. It's that peer-to-peer learning that's massive. And there seems to be like a really good community and camaraderie between Halter farmers. And the cool thing is with dairy farming, no one's in competition with each other because they all get paid the same. So it's not like other sectors where you're kind of looking over the fence and trying to beat them. It's everyone wants everyone to succeed. So that's really cool. We do case studies. So if we see a farmer doing something really cool, part of my job is to tell other farmers about that. And I haven't yet come across a case where like a farmer said, oh, like, don't tell anyone this, or yeah, they're always super happy to share. We might have private WhatsApp groups going on for different regions. Yeah, that's a big part of, I guess, the account manager role.
And so that allows you to carry the knowledge gained from previous seasons onto the next seasons, and allows you to solidify some of the learnings that you've learned from what the data tells you versus the reaction, and how you can best do that the next season and use that information as well.
Yep. And we basically will, I wouldn't say use farmers, but we like, if farmers are happy to do it, we kind of get them to tell their stories themselves. So like that event, the Maximising Halter event we had a month or so ago, when we had all our current farmers in the room, we had a farmer panel, and like everyone could just ask those farmers, what have you done to get these results? Like your 6-week and calf rate's gone up 15% in 2 years. Like what have you done? And some of it's nothing to do with Halter, it's PG programs and stuff, but it's all about, the learning and it just lifting. Yeah, we just want the whole industry just to lift together.
Super exciting, eh? Like there's so much happening in the ag space at the moment because, there's good profit, and it is probably the one industry in New Zealand that is really thriving at the moment.
It is.
And
and kind of, I guess, carrying on with that, have you seen the pickup from the other people that kind of encompass that, not just the farmers, but the other people that are using Halter, like the nutritionists?
Yeah, so that's been a real focus in the last couple of years. Like you would have noticed it yourself. So probably previously, like 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't engage much with rural professionals, and we've learnt that we really do need to engage with rural professionals, not just from a growth perspective, but also for our current farmers. So if you have trusted advisors like your consultant, your vets, your nutritionists, and they're not on board with Halter, well, it's hard to get that farm on board to start with. Or if they sign up and the consultant or the vet or the nutritionist is not really a fan or doesn't fully understand Halter, that's going to limit the farm's return on Halter too. So yeah, like we put a massive focus on that. I've gone around, I was going to say all, but there might be one missing, but basically all the vet clinics in my region, probably once a year, and do one-on-one presentations. We run rural professional workshops. We run an annual conference now. So the last 2 years we've done a Halter Horizons in Auckland, where we fly consultants and vets up from around New Zealand for 3 days at our head office, just to upskill them on Halter. So we put a lot of effort into that. And then like this kind of thing too. We've got nothing to hide. We want everyone to understand Halter. Yeah, that's the main thing, just making sure people understand how we work.
Super cool, eh? Like I'm a big believer in collaboration, eh? It's really important. Everyone has the area that they do really, really well, and you're learning from each other, eh? It's really important. I'd be quite keen to sidestep on that then, and around nutrition. With the rumination 80 minutes, I see now you're sort of expanded that out into a little bit more cow behaviour, resting minutes and walking versus eating. Can you tell us a little bit about that and your experience using that on farm, and how you've been using it to sort of shift the needle a bit, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I'll try. The nutrition side is definitely not my speciality. So obviously the grazing and rumination, is all to do with the feeding and the pasture side. The moving and resting comes in a lot more in terms of the behaviour models. So the heat detection, obviously moving's a big one for that part of it. And also for I guess we've gone away, it's a health model, but one of my colleagues actually started calling it a behaviour model, which I think is far better, because all it's doing is saying this cow's behaviour has changed. And then from that, we're inferring that she's likely unwell. Similar to humans, she could just be having a bad day and her behaviour's changed. But how they're using it, I guess, the main parts of the behaviour models is heat detection and health monitoring, but it does have other uses. I guess some farmers are so in tune with Halter now, they've had it for long enough that they can zoom in on their behaviour data and actually can see when the cows are getting near to residual because their grazing's starting to drop off and their rumination's coming up. So that will tell them, right, I need to go out to the paddock in 20 minutes because they're getting close. Other ones, resting. I've had a farm that found subclinical acidosis in his herd on fodder beet because the resting had gone up. So there's some of those ones. You would have heard at that Maximising Halter event the other week that we've found a significant correlation between all 4 behaviours and the 4 at 4 days after calving, and then their conception rate to the first insemination. So although we talk about rumination mainly, there is still a significant correlation between the other 3 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The other 3 being eating minutes, moving, and resting.
Yep.
Yeah, which is really cool. It makes good sense to me. I go after stress a lot in the cows because stress translates into a liver performance, which drives appetite, and also immune system performance, which then flows on to metritis and RFMs and all those other issues. So I was really interested to look at that cow behavior data in those 4 days post-calving, because if you can do the transition really well and lower the impact of stress in your cows, then it makes sense to me that they would peak milk better, they would cycle earlier, and they're getting calf better. So it's really cool to see that data actually coming to fruition.
Yeah. And we're we leave the interpretation of that data up to the likes of yourself and the vets and things. Like, we provide the data, we try to convert the data from raw data into insights, which are the trends that you see in the app. And then really, we're not trying to replace anyone. We'd rather let you and your colleagues go in and help farmers utilize that data. We have a base level of knowledge that we're happy to help farmers with, but if they really want to get into it, we'll happily recommend them to talk to you or vets or nutritionists. Yeah,
it's super cool though. When I ring up a farmer, I'm like, I just noticed that your ruminations dropped off and your moving's up a little bit, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we saw that, and we changed our mobs around, and they generally know practically what's translated into that change of data. And then a 5-minute discussion now, because everyone's got the same trends and the same data, you can make those changes so much more efficiently and quicker, which I really like.
You can start, like you just said, you can really tell a story from that data without having any context. You can look at it and be like, wow, this was probably caused by, was it new grass or was it this or this, which I really like. I'm a numbers guy and I think numbers are beautiful things. They tell a story for me, but not everyone works in that way. Yep. But those trend lines are the same. If you zoom in on them, you can be like, oh, the cows were sleeping, they went to the shed here, oh, they stood on the yard for 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's quite cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, don't tell me that your minutes are 480.
Yeah.
Tell me that they've gone from 480 to 440 to 420 to 380. It's like you say, it's the trends and the changes that are really important. But it's cool because if you display it well, like you do on the graphs, it's pretty easy to see. Well, rumination is trending up, eating minutes are trending down. So maybe the cow's appetite is increasing, so I need to actually increase allocation or whatever it might be. So it's pretty cool. Like, the opportunity, I think, is massive. The hardest thing about farming in New Zealand is managing pasture, right? So if we have more tools to do that more efficiently, it's just going to translate into better conversion of feed into milk, which is going to lower greenhouse gases. Farmers will have more money in their back pocket, more sustainable. It's everybody wins, Which
and we're starting to try to treat animals like individuals rather than as on a mob or a herd level. So like on the app, obviously it defaults to grazing and rumination in terms of the trends because they're the main ones farmers are wanting to look at day on day. But if you toggle one of them off, you'll get the range of that mob and you can see what the range is. And then if you look at an individual animal's behavior, you will see what her average is, what her distribution is, and what the mob average is. So you can start to compare, like, is she having a hard time or is the mob in general having a hard time? Really starting to treat
Which is
them.
mind-boggling. You have 1,500 cows,
Mm-hmm.
and once we start coupling that data with milk meters, where we can look at exactly what's happening in every cow every day, we'll be able to start making smarter genetic decisions. Because just because a cow has a high BW doesn't make it the most efficient cow for my farm, for my system. Because every farm is slightly different, eh?
Yeah.
So that's there's some exciting stuff to come, I reckon, in that space.
And is that something that Halter is working on, those integrations and those tie-ins?
Yeah, we do. I guess the hardest thing for us is prioritizing which ones to do. So we do have like a handful out there where we're rapidly kind of building on the number of gates, drafting gates we integrate with. This is your space. Like, obviously there's a bit of work involved in doing that. I don't understand that side of it. Yeah, obviously Minder, we now integrate with Fonterra and Synlait for milk production data. And then there's plenty of other integrations people want us to do.
And so I guess you're responding to, as the farmers request these insights, these integrations, that's when you guys are going out and seeking out these integrations or working to provide the information directly to them.
Yeah. It's trying to balance what the farmers want, what the company priorities are at the time, and then just the resource. Yeah, so it's just a balancing act. So what I always say to farmers is nearly everything is on our radar. It's just where it is in the list. And so the more feedback we get from you guys and from farmers, the further up or down the list that will go.
If farmers are looking at, because obviously Fonterra, Synlait and others are really going after increasing feed conversion efficiency, reducing greenhouse gases. If you had farmers out there that were like, okay, well, I really want to get into that top 10% of Fonterra farmers, so I get that extra 16 cents or whatever the incentive is, what would, how does Halter help them on that journey? Like, is it worth jumping onto Halter, making that investment, and then getting that back by actually getting up into that 10%?
I guess it comes back to what their goals are. If it's if they're wanting to improve greenhouse gas emissions or something, that comes down to cow efficiency. And so we know that's directly correlated with dry matter intake. But if they're eating the same amount of dry matter, but the average ME is half higher, then straight away that makes it a more efficient cow. So there's that way. Obviously, there's the repro way has big efficiency gains as well. It really just comes down to what the farmer is wanting to achieve.
So that increasing the ME, because I'm just thinking while I'm talking, but if you can increase the energy density of what you've already got, because, farms all range between that sort of 14 and probably 18 ton of grass harvested a year, and to kick that up by 10-20% is a pretty big task. But if you can increase the energy density, so the ME in what you're eating, all of a sudden, that's less supplement you need to buy because you've got more units of ME. So sounds like that's quite a big focus for Halter, and actually improving the amount of energy of the cow, or what's in the grass, basically.
Yeah, and so a lot of our focus is that pasture harvested, which really comes down to residual management. And so that's one of the massive focuses for us is consistent residuals. Doesn't matter if you're a 1,500, a 1,600, or one of those 1,800 or 1,900 system guys. It's the consistency of that residual that's important. And by hitting that consistent residual, then theoretically your ME is going to increase because you're not having those messy clumps in the paddock anymore.
So how does Halter actually help you manage the consistency of your residual? Is it a time thing where you can go out to the paddock and actually see the data, or how does that work?
I guess there's a couple of parts. It comes down to accurate allocation, really. So you've got, I guess, at one end of the spectrum, you've got 24-hour breaks. And then at the other end, you've got our farmer in North Canterbury who does 8 breaks a day. So I think the happy medium's probably somewhere in the middle. So it's about accurate allocation. So instead of going out and putting a fence up 4 posts or halfway, which is different for everyone, it's you're drawing a break based on the number of cows in the break. So before you can draw a break in Halter, you assign a mob. So we know exactly how many cows are going to go into that break. We know how much pasture's in there through our pasture model. So as you're drawing it, you're getting 3 live numbers. You're getting the hectares of that break. You're getting the square meters per animal, which is super helpful in the first round. And then the third number is kgs of dry matter per animal, both offered and utilized, because you can adjust your utilization. So you're starting to dial it in. So instead of just giving them half the paddock, you're like, no, I want them to have 6.5 kilo. And then at 10 o'clock or 10:30, I'm going to go out and I'm going to visually assess how much more do they need. If they need another 5, I'll give them another 5. If they need another 3.9, I'll give them another 3.9. And the idea of that is that you're accurately hitting those residuals.
Yeah. And I guess it's so easy to extend that break without having to run reels and things. You can actually do that. Because one of the biggest challenges as a nutritionist is you look at a paddock of grass and you're like, oh, well, there's 3,000 cover in there. But where's the dry matter? You know, like, is the dry matter 12% or is it 16%? And it will look pretty similar and it will feel similar. Like, it might be a little bit crunchier, but it's pretty hard to tell without, you know, getting a herbage test or whatever. So I could imagine Halter is quite useful in that respect, because as you go out to the paddock, oh, the cows have nailed that break an hour quicker than I thought they would. Maybe it's not 16%, maybe it's 13% dry matter. So you can allocate a little bit more.
Yeah, and we are certainly not advocating for farmers not to be in the paddock. In fact, the farmers getting the best results with Halter are spending more time in the paddock than before. So, and like you said, the cows at the end of the day are the real source of truth. So no one knows how much dry matter is in a paddock unless you cut it and dry it. So every pasture cover is an estimate, and the cows are really going to tell you if it was right or wrong.
Well, it's hard because every paddock's different, right? You know, your young grass paddock versus your fescues and different pasture compositions. It's tricky. It's a hustle. But farming's not easy.
No. So that's the main part of the residuals. The other part is, and again, this is stuff that like the top farmers already do, but like you go out there at 12 o'clock, you're going home for lunch and the cows are like, you're like, oh, they probably need a bit more. So you either, gold standard is, you know, you go and put another fence up and you just give them a little bit more. That's a lot of work for half an hour maybe, or half an hour of grazing. Or what happens more often is farmers will wind the fence up and they'll have the rest of that paddock and then they'll go and tidy it up. But like, with Halter, they can just adjust it. So, okay, they probably need another 1.5 kilo. I'll just drag that line on my phone. They will now have another 1.5 kilo. So kind of, I always say it takes away a lot of the excuses. And I'm not saying they're excuses due to bad things. They're just people don't have time for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's 2 o'clock and you haven't had lunch, like it's important that you look after yourself.
Yes.
I get that 100%. Yeah, sorry, I'm dominating the nutrition question.
No, that's right.
One thing that really, like when I first saw Halter, I thought, oh, this is amazing, because one of my pet peeves is you set up a break. Like, let's say you've got 600 or 500 cow mobs, like quite good size. And so the first 200 cows back from the shed, they just monster the best feed. And they're buggers. They don't just quietly graze from the front of the break. They walk all over the break, pick out all the best grass. And then the last second half of the herd tend to just get what's left, if you know what I mean. Have you seen a bit of efficiency around being able to say, and even do you do this? Do you set up a break for the first 200 cows and then give the ladder cows from the shed a bit more, or how have you worked that?
No, that's great prompting. We do. A lot of farmers now do that. So when the cows come out of the shed, they will just give them a small percentage of the allocation required, so that those front ones can still eat. But then once all the cows are there, they'll open them up for the rest. So that's reducing that competition, allowing those cows at the back to have a fair shot at that nice high ME stuff. Otherwise, they just end up having to do the cleaning up.
Cool. I've never actually done it on the app, but is it quite easy? Do you just draw a break and allocate a portion of it, or how do you? You just do true. You just draw a break. You'd still allocate that full mob, and then as they enter the paddock, they activate that paddock. They're held in the break, and then when you're finished milking, you would just go on your phone and either extend the line. Oh right, yeah. So you just give the whole herd more. Essentially, it's almost like giving them half a break, and then at a set time, give them the rest of the break. Yeah, that makes sense. So once the new cows are in the paddock, they're hungry. The original 200 cows that were there earlier have probably got a guts full and are sitting down ruminating. So those cows will go over and get the good grass.
So it sounds like there's a lot that you can do within the Halter app. It's doing monitoring. It's doing the virtual fencing side of things. What would it take for a new Halter user to get on the app and to be using and to have that set up on their farm?
Yeah, that's like a part of the business we've been working really strongly on, because there is a heap of data in there. We have various packages, and like the higher up package you have, the more features you've got, and there is an awful lot in there. So we have a specialist onboarding team now. So farmer signs up for Halter, they then have an onboarding specialist who basically holds their hand right through the deployment process, right through the training of the cows. And then we'll make sure that farmer's really comfortable how to use Halter, like drawing breaks, bringing cows to the shed. And then once the onboarding specialist is comfortable that they're, up to speed, that's when they'll hand them over to us. and we'll look after them for the rest of their time with Halter. But yeah, we are very aware that like those first few weeks or months with Halter are super important, not just for the farmers, but for the animals as well, training the animals. But yeah, we've worked on that a lot. And yeah, as we've grown, that's become like a really important part of scaling.
I can imagine, especially if you're trying to offer all these features and to get farmers up and using them in a quick amount of time.
Yeah. You get a lot of variation too, eh? Like some people, they're very like the technology literate, like they're over everything. So straight into it, other people probably not quite so much.
Definitely. Yeah. Some farms you turn up and they're like you said, like we need to work them through every feature, which is fine. We do that. It might take us a year to work through all the features. So we'll do it right. Mating's coming up. Let's focus on these features that are going to really help you mating. Calving's coming up. Let's work through the features that'll help you with calving. But yeah, then there's some farmers you turn up and they've looked at everything and everything's set up and they're really just wanting you to challenge them.
Yeah, that's good though, because I do find a lot of farmers, they kind of get the technology and they're dumped with everything and they're like, it's just too much to manage well. And so they park 80% of it, and then they focus on that 20, usually mating. And then everything else sort of just gets pushed to the side. And I'm like, man, what's happening with your rumination and what's happening through heat stress and, you're getting any alerts or whatever it might be. And, and sometimes there's just too much going on. The guys are like, oh yeah, I just don't want to dig into all that, it's just too much.
It can be overwhelming. Yeah, like there's a lot more farmers with Halter now who have already dabbled in the wearable space. So those farmers tend to get up and running a bit quicker too because they're used to rumination. They're used to how heat detection is different with a wearable versus tail paint. But yeah, the ones that have come from nothing, some of them are up and running very quick, but some just work with together. But that's our job.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well, that leads me to the last question. With for farmers out there that are like, man, I do want to get into this space, but I'm a little bit not sure which is the best for my farm. What are the kind of the 5 or the key questions that you would go through with a farmer to see whether Halter is right? And, what are the key indicators that you would say would kind of lead a farmer to want to put Halter on the farm?
Yeah, we want the farmer needs to be able to like clearly articulate what challenges they're trying to solve on their farm. So there's like a heap. It could be if it's labor, that's fine. We can work through how that can help. Pasture is a big one. Repro is obviously a super easy one because it's quite easy to quantify repro. Animal health, lameness. Some farmers get Halter for environmental reasons, like they want to keep them out of critical source areas and things like that. Yeah,
so get that spatial geofencing side of it, that's a relatively easy one, isn't it? So, if you've got a farm that's got all different shaped paddocks and you want to keep them out of drains and ditches and all that sort of stuff, that would be easy. But what are the other features that you would say really set Halter apart from, other collar technology or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our key point of difference is the virtual fencing and herding. But I think it's the pasture features that really kind of are selling it for a lot of people. So virtual fencing is great. Like it provides farmers with flexibility. They can fence, what's best, not what's easiest. But it's that pasture data that I think people are really starting to see the benefits of. And also, we're really trying to become like an operating system for farmers. So being able to have your pasture data, all your mob data, your behaviour data, your repro, your health, all that stuff. I mean, now you can, some farmers even use Halter for like task delegation and that kind of thing. Like we're really trying to become a full farm operating system. I think that, that's where we're really headed.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So people that really want to change the structure of how they're operating the farm and really bring technology in as more of a hub rather than a tack on, that they would probably more go towards Halter.
Yeah. It's like in my region where I'm based currently, it's a lot more of the farms coming on are doing it. It's an investment, and they want to see a return. And so some of them, I'll come along and have my first meeting with them, and they've got a full spreadsheet being like, I want a 4% lift here, a 3% lift here, and that's great. It makes my job easy because we can always circle back to that and be like, how are we tracking? It's the whereas some farms you may turn up and they're like, oh, I want to make life easier, which is great, but it's quite hard to quantify that.
Yes.
So part of our job is then every farm will sit down and do like a bit of a success plan, which pretty much goes through what are their high level goals, like it could be 5 years ahead, and then what are their seasonal goals, what are their challenges on farm, and we're basically working through how we can address it and how Halter can interact with that. So if their goal is to buy a second farm or to purchase their runoff, we want to understand how's Halter going to contribute to that. Is it because it's going to give you time to work off farm, or is it because it's going to help you dial in your pasture management and therefore your profitability? Yeah. And part of my job is, I guess, holding farmers to account for that too. So saying, hey, when we sat down 6 months ago, you said you really wanted to reduce your supplement use through pasture harvested. Have you been doing those multiple shifts we spoke about? Have you been doing the farm walks and helping our pasture model get really dialed in? You know, if they have, great. If they haven't, you know, how does that fit in with what we talked about earlier?
Cool. Yeah, I can see why you stay close to consultants as well.
Yeah.
Because it is quite technical, eh?
Yep.
Like, it's not just, you know, running an app and bringing your cows to the shed and back. It's really changing your system to maximize, you know, your efficiency, but also maximize what you're getting from Halter, eh, or your wearable.
Yeah. And like, we really pride ourselves on our service level. So we have a support team who are based in Auckland 24/7, and they are you get in touch with them through the app. So there's a chat service through the app. So they're 24/7. So for your day-to-day things, you contact them. And then our job is really to drive value. So talking farmers through, like, it's your first mating, this is what you need to know, this is what other farmers are doing. Running discussion groups, building relationships with the likes of you. So our job's much more of the value add side of things.
Yeah, cool.
No, my final question for you is, what are you most excited about coming up for either Halter or what you're seeing with the farmers, or any sort of element of Halter that you're getting excited for in the future?
Yeah. I think we're going to see some really, really good results in the next 12 months. We've had a lot of farmers come on recently who, in my opinion, are very good farmers. So they're probably those first followers. It's still, they might have only had collars on for 5 or 6 months, but I'm really looking forward to, like, after mating and next year and crunching the numbers, because I think we're going to see some really good results from these guys. That's probably what I'm excited about in the product space. What they're working on up there that's a bit of a black box, but I think it's been spoken about before, like feed conversion efficiency. Whether we crack that or someone else cracks that, like, that will be massive for the industry. Which is what we're all about. Like, yeah, we're a business, but really we're just trying to make New Zealand dairy better. And not just New Zealand dairy, we're around the world now. But like, something like feed conversion efficiency would be huge.
Well, energy density, like, I totally miss that, to be fair. And if you can increase the quality of every mouthful that's going into a cow, well, then, you know, that's just that's high value, if you know what I mean. Like, you're putting high value into the cow, which you're going to get value at the other end, which makes a lot of sense to me, because the variability in the ME, even within a farm, based on, you know, how it's been managed, is huge. So that's a strong value proposition.
It is. And those, like that farm I used as an example, they do a pasture sample every month, and they input that into the app. And then in November, they do 2 pasture samples, because they know how quickly the ME can change in November. So, like, Halter's helping them, but they're also helping Halter.
Yeah, they're right on it. And pasture walks every 3 days. Like, you know, that sort of level of detail is huge. Eh?
And they've got to the point with Halter, because it's a machine learning model. So they've put that much data into pasture for Halter now that they don't need to be doing those walks regularly. They still will always check pre-graze covers and things, because they're great farmers. But yeah, they really put the effort into Halter in the first kind of year to 18 months, and now they're really reaping the rewards.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about where AI is going with farm data tech. I think it could get to a point where AI is actually doing a lot of the grunt work within managing, you know, pasture and all that sort of stuff, and especially supplement, like with in-shed feeding and individual cow feeding, and with milk metering per cow. Like, there's so many cool new ways we can use that data. It's pretty exciting. It's good to see Halter is really adapting the AI and the machine learning. I think it's
a big part of the business, and it's the future. I was having a chat with the physio yesterday about AI, and saying like, Halter/AI is not here to replace jobs. Like, we know there's a massive shortage of consultants and vets in New Zealand, same for physios. And so all we're doing with AI is hopefully making those current ones we have more efficient, so they can either do a better job with their current clients, or they can expand their client base and help more people. Well, I guess we wait for the next crop to come through, which is not necessarily happening.
Yeah, but then, like, if farmers can process so much data, like, I totally agree with you, and it's the same in the nutrition field. That's what we're doing with myCOW. And just, if you can take out 80% of the paperwork and do the low level grunt work with AI, then you can just deliver so much more high level advice because you just don't get stuck in the weeds.
Yeah, and it's
Super useful.
Turn up as a consultant or a vet or a nutritionist, and the first half hour, an hour of your meetings just spent getting data that is like, it's valuable building rapport, but it's a bit of a waste of time, especially when you're charging, like, you charge decent rate by the hour. So yeah, if you can, instead of having a 3-hour visit, you can have a 2-hour visit, achieve the exact same thing, if not more, and then go and service someone else. And I was saying, that's why I was talking to the physio about it. I was like, instead of a 30-minute appointment where the first 10 minutes is spent with me telling you about my knees for the last 10 years, if AI can just summarize my notes, there you go. This guy's had knee history, 20-minute appointment.
Yeah, it's a companion, not a replacement. Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I love the idea that, I've got farmers down in Southland that I work with, and I can't travel because I got young kids and I want to be at home. But we can, we're 15% ahead this year just from reading that data and being able to communicate, like even a text, like it's not a text message, but it's a flow of text communication. And you can shift the needle so much by just keeping things on track rather than a 1-month meeting where we talk about everything that went wrong over the last 30 days, if you know what I mean. Like, it's cool to see things changing in that space.
Yeah,
not that anything was badly broken, but I just, you got to be a bit careful. You can be a bit negative in this space. But I think the opportunity is exciting.
Allows for far more proactive engagement too. So instead of turning up every 6 weeks or 8 weeks where you're kind of the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff because the wheels generally, or if they ring you, the wheels have already fallen off. So you don't have that oversight and you're basically relying on the farmer to execute the plan you've put in place. And then when you turn back up, you're like, right, how did you go? With, I guess, Halter, you can either on the web or the app once a week or something, you can have a quick flick through and be like, right, that pasture cover's not tracking where I want it. And you can proactively reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to know, we're still heading in the right direction, or we're just getting a little bit off track rather than everything's gone off the cliff and now we need to fix it. Much easier to make a small adjustment, than actually pull everything back. It's it's cool. Well, thanks heaps for your time, mate. I really appreciate it. And
that's all good.
It's been a fun discussion.
It has.
I'm sure you've enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, there's so much that I don't understand about the farming space, but it's always good to sit down with an expert.
One of the really cool points of difference with Halter is like they're so focused on culture, like our internal culture. So like I talked to some of our executive team and things, and they've come from, they've been on execs in big companies in the States and things, and they say that the amount they talk about internal culture here is like tenfold compared to some other places they've been. So we have, like, as employees, we're equally judged on culture versus technical expertise. And a big part of the recruitment process comes down to like your cultural fit. So you could be the best nutritionist in the world, but if you don't fit culturally, it probably won't make the cut.
Yeah, what does that look like practically? Like, how's it measured, and how would you say that person fits the Halter culture?
Yeah. I mean, so we have operating principles that everyone knows, they've come up with by the company. Like, I won't read them all out, but like some of them, like absolute ownership is like a classic one. So you're really encouraged at Halter to do what you think's right for the company. So you're not necessarily like, they're all about context over control. So if you think this is the right thing to do, just kind of go ahead and do it within reason. If you think it's the right thing to do, there's like stories of people who have been at Halter for like 2 weeks and they've been sent to Thailand to try to sort out a manufacturing issue, because if you've made it through the recruitment process, you're meant to be here and we trust you to do it, to do your job. But then we have fun too. So one of the main ones that we talk about is just bring joy. So everything we do, you should be having fun at work. Yes, it's hard sometimes, but it should all come back that you're enjoying it and it's a privilege. Some of that basic stuff that you hear, like it's, you don't have to, you get to, all of that stuff. So when you've got to ring a farmer and make a really difficult phone call, it's not like I have to ring him, I get to ring him and I get to challenge myself. And this is an opportunity for me to build my relationship with the farmer, to challenge myself. So they're really big on that stuff.
Cool. It's a different posture on the farm when you show up and you're like, man, you're just enjoying what you do. Like you just, the way you have conversation, you can just read it, in people. It's really cool.
And it's a real privilege. Like, Yeah, I mean, I think working in agriculture in general is a real privilege because there's not many industries where you build such meaningful relationships and the business literally open their house to you.
Yep.
And they open their books to you. They show you their finances. They, there may be tears of joy. There may be tears of sadness. Like, it's quite a privilege being able to work with people that closely. So I think that's quite cool. And with Halter, we get to change people's lives. So yes, there's the ones that are harvesting more grass and things, and that's great. But then there's the ones that are like, I got to coach my kids rugby, or this was the first holiday I've taken in 10 years, and they're like sitting there with tears in their eyes telling you about it, and that like gives you goosebumps, which is pretty cool. So
Absolutely.
like one of the other operating principles, which is the last two that I'll talk about, is so feedback and gratitude is a huge part. So basically, if you have feedback to give someone and you walk past them and don't give that feedback, you're like complicit. You need to give that feedback. It comes from a great place. So always assume positive intent.
Mm-hmm.
So someone like, you don't go into a meeting being like, this person's going to give me a tongue lashing. If they've got feedback to give me, it's because they care about me and because they care about the company. And then the last one is like embrace discomfort. So they really encourage us to get out there and do stuff like push yourself, like, yeah, whether it's like, I don't mind public speaking, but like, if you don't like public speaking, then we will we will encourage you to get up there and do it because it's the only way to get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool. And then the growth side of it, yeah, I mean, you've read about that growth side. It's been pretty well publicized. 2024, we were Deloitte's top 50, the fastest growing company in New Zealand, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We've just clocked over 550,000 collars. Over 1,000 farms,
awesome,
which is pretty special.
Yeah, I'd encourage the guys jump on the website. The timeline story that's talked about, like the whole journey of Halter, and it's really cool. It's a great video, and it's a good timeline.
I'm interested to know, what have you seen differ between the first, when you started 2.5 years ago, to where it is now?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because Halter is growing so fast.
Yes.
And I mean, so I've been there 2.5 years. Like, I guess that's like quite a long time in Halter world as we've grown, but there's people that have been around double that amount of time. I think Halter's done really well maintaining the culture and like the velocity and things as we scale. So when I started, there were less than 150 employees, probably close to 100. We're now well over 300 in like just over 2 years. And so trying to maintain that culture and like bringing joy and all of that stuff, I think they've done a really good job at that. I guess what else has changed since I've been there? Obviously, the product's changed a lot. I think our perspective on engaging with rural professionals has changed a lot as well, and realizing that, we're part of a bigger thing and we need everyone to be kind of rowing in the same direction to get the results we want. But I guess the cool thing is that it hasn't changed a lot either internally, and that's what they're really striving for. And that will be, I guess, the challenge going forward too.
Cool. Yeah, I love the culture. It sounds really empowering.
It is. Yeah.
Which is important. We want young people in the industry. We want to bring them in, create an environment where they can grow and grow quite quickly, and become strong contributors fast as well.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of Halter's success, is that we've got some like phenomenal people from around the world working for Halter, particularly in the engineering team. So they've worked for like some very, very well-known companies in the States and things. And they come into Halter with like, they may have zero background in farming, but that's also an advantage because they've got no conceptions around how farming works. They're like, okay, you do this, but like, why do you do that? And then you'll be like, oh, because of this. And they're like, yeah, but why? And you work through and you're like, oh, actually just because. Yeah. And so that's how
it
we've
actually
come up with
faster
a lot
to
of
do
our
it this way. And we're like, never thought about that before.
Yeah. And so I think there's massive benefits to that. It's like
Absolutely.
a fresh set of eyes on the industry. So you've got this like incredible intelligence with like no preconceived notions of how it should be done.
Yeah.
And I think that's enabled us to
They often make the best farmers too, eh?
Yeah, well, I grew up in town, and I think like, it can be quite intimidating coming into farming, not having grown up on a farm. But I actually like, over the years, I've changed my perspective on that and been like, I actually think it's a bit of an advantage because I don't have any idea on some of the practical stuff on how it works. And so I've had to learn that, but I've also been able to question, like, why do you do that?
No, absolutely. It's interesting. I think it's an and, you see guys that have great background and come from great stock, and they make great farmers, of course, because they were born with it, or grew up in it. But those people that come in from town, they bring fresh perspective, and they often do so much research that's very current, and they're right on top of it, because they have to be. You're juggling a $10-20 million business. It's not, you don't mess around. Like
that I think that's something like a lot of people don't understand, is like how big these businesses are.
Yeah, it's high risk.
It's huge. Like, a well-known farm I don't know if you heard, sold yesterday, like 66 grand a hectare.
Yeah, incredible.
Like, and massive money. Like it's not, farming's not a hobby. It's a big business.
Yeah, it's exciting for the industry though, and you have mum and dad families that are running these huge businesses and pulling a whole lot of staff, and there's a lot of moving parts. So it's cool to see the tech coming in and making it easier for people to juggle quite complex things. And it means that we can dig into things in a little bit more detail, because we have time and capacity now with technology, which is exciting. Once upon a time, I might be saying, oh, well, we set up our rotation and we just allocate so many squares a cow, and that's all we have the capacity to do. But now with the tech coming through, we have the capacity to say, okay, well, growth rates have been changing over the last couple of weeks. Let's adjust our allocations and look at different paddocks and different dry matters, and all just drives efficiency. Like when I was in the US looking at TMR systems and things, like I was like, this is so boring, because the nutritionists do the same thing every day, and there's just so little to be gained. If they get a 1 or 2% shift, they're like, this is amazing.
Right.
Whereas from what we do, even between farms, the capacity to increase efficiency is massive. Like in the next 5 to 10 years, I'd like to see 20 to 40% or even 50% potentially shifts in efficiency on farm. And the profitability or the profit driver from that is huge, which, more money in the farmer's pocket, more money in the community, stronger businesses, stronger communities, like it all flows through. It's got to be good. Yeah. Thanks again for your time, mate. I've really enjoyed today.
Cool.
So, we'll keep in touch, and look forward to a follow-up, and enjoy that coast. Good luck with the shift.
We'll see you over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.